That's some of what this new bill is going to be about. There's more in it. As I mentioned, one of the big headlines, the ability for the old bill to get into a house without a warrant if they think there's something in there that's electronically tagged. Let's speak with David Spencer, Head of Crime and Justice at the Policy Exchange, where Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, was there a little earlier as well, making comments on the issues of the day. David, good to have you with us. Lots in this bill, but the one that's got all the headlines, of course, is this business of mobile phones. Your ability to finally say to the police, it's in number 53. Instead of getting the answer, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it, apparently now there will be something they can do about it. Is that broadly what the story is here?
Good afternoon, Ian. Well, yeah, that's broadly right. And, you know, this is a big crime and policing bill that the government's put forward. There's a lot of measures here. You know, some of them are quite technical and technocratic, but, you know, it is good to see the government taking steps to, you know, deal with some of these issues that certainly policing and I think the public have been crying out for a while. And certainly this one that you're talking about here, where electronic goods, so mobile phones, tagged bikes, those sorts of things, and they show up on your phone or your computer as being inside that flat over there. And for the police to say, well, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about that, just seems very, very confusing for the public and victims of crime. And they rightly say, well, what on earth's going on? Like, we know it's over there in number 53. I can see it on my computer right here. So the fact that this is something that the government these powers are going to be given to the police, seems to me an entirely logical step forward by the government.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I've lost count, David, on how many. Every time we talk about things like, you know, a bike or a mobile phone, these are classic areas where there appears to be very little police response. It's not the fault of the average copper on the street that something has shifted in terms of priorities. And everyone will tell the same story. Look, you know, I know the person that even stole the bike, or I know roughly who it is. Certainly was able to track it to that road. I'm pretty much in the ballpark. I think it's the house over there. Let's not blame everybody at number 53, David, by the way, because I'm sure at 54 there's a few dodgy characters in there as well. So maybe it was them. And nothing seems to happen. Now, of course, it's all very well having the new legislation in place, but we still need action.
You're right. And we see this time and again in other areas where, you know, it may be that the legislation and the regulations are already there and we don't necessarily see enough action from the police. So you're absolutely right. The next step will be making sure that the police take action. But I feel like we shouldn't just lump all of the responsibility and the blame on the police here. One of the things that we need to see is, and we've seen recently, is our prisons are full. And the reality is, what we need to see is, yes, the police going in, catching these burglars and these robbers, and then we need to see the courts doing the right thing and sending these people to prison. At the moment, the reality is the prisons are full. And what we need to see is more prisons being built, more prison places, so that particularly the most prolific offenders, and when we looked into this about 18 months ago, we did some research on this, we were finding people that had, you know, 100, 150 previous convictions for crimes not being sent to prison when they're convicted again. So that is absolutely needs to be a priority. The Home Office has done their bit. We now need to see the Treasury and the Ministry of Justice making the money available to get more people sent to prison when they're committing so many offences.
Yeah, and I'm trying to make a similar point as well many times. I mean, I get that there are some people that probably shouldn't be in prison, and prison is the wrong place or the wrong form of punishment for some offenders. But I'm sort of tired of hearing people say, well, prison doesn't work, we need more non-custodial options. Well, if you've got 150 convictions, the chances are you've been through every type of non-custodial sentence, from community service to goodness knows what else. And clearly that doesn't work either. There are times when you need a prison.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. And, you know, the reality is, the function of the purpose of prison, there are numerous purposes. One is to punish people that have broken the rules. And I tell you what, prison does work for that. And the other thing is, it's to give the public a break from those people who are persistent in their offending. And it works for that as well. So, you know, I recognise that there is a lot more to be done around rehabilitation in prisons. And, you know, the Chief Inspector of Prisons reports on that very, very regularly. And the Ministry of Justice needs to get on with it and sorting that side of things out. But there are ways that prison does work, and giving the victims and public a break from some of these offenders is one of the ways where it's important.
Indeed. David, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. David Spencer, Head of Crime and Justice at the Policy Exchange.